Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of Raw Intuition Inside Scoop. Today we are talking with Rebecca Rosenberg, also known as the Texas Fruitarian. And she has a YouTube channel, the Texas Fruitarian, that you should really check out for some raw food inspiration and education. I first came across Rebecca on Facebook, and I saw a post talking about her weight loss that she's experienced on a raw vegan diet. And so I was like, hey, you know, this would be a good interview just to show people how raw fruits and vegetables can really balance your weight and bring you down to a healthy level. And once I started looking into more of her videos, I realized that she has much, much more to share than just weight loss. So she has got a very inspirational story, and so we're going to hear from her today and just learn what she has experienced and all the things that she has learned on a raw vegan diet. So Rebecca, thanks a lot for joining the channel and sharing with us your story.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Great. All right. So I guess we can just start off with kind of just an overview of what your life was like before you got into a raw vegan diet.
Okay. I first went vegetarian in 2003. I never really liked eating meat. I was kind of a farm girl. I grew up on a farm in Texas, and then moved to the city when I was, I think, first grade-ish. And then I went vegan in 2009 after learning about the dairy industry. I read the book Skinny Bitch, and I think I was in a bubble bath at the time, and I was reading the chapter on dairy, and I just started bawling right there, and I went vegan right then and there. I had no idea about the dairy industry, even though I grew up on a farm.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, delusions, right? So, but I was fairly okay, I thought, with my health, but I had already been pretty sick in my childhood. I had hypoglycemia since the 6th grade, and I had Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. I was diagnosed in my very early 20s, and I was battling my weight my entire life. Fun fact, I didn't go raw for my weight.
Yeah.
Although it's what most people see, and they're like, oh my God, weight loss, weight loss.
Right.
I ended up diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2014, September 8th of 2014. I ended up in the hospital, and they thought I had a stroke. And I couldn't move my left side from the neck down. It was like I was weak and numb, and I didn't know what was wrong. And I'm in there, I'm 30 years old, and I'm yelling at them, and I'm like, y'all, I'm vegan. There's no way I had a stroke. And upon further testing, it was definitive multiple sclerosis. My brain had scars on it. That's what multiple sclerosis means. It's an autoimmune disease, just like Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. And it's like the immune system attacks itself. It attacks the myelin sheath, which surrounds the neurons in the brain, and it disconnects the neurons transmitting their signals. And so wherever that hits, and for everybody who has MS, it's different. Wherever that hits in the brain, that's what damage is done in the body. So it could be organs, it could be motor control, it could be vision, and I mean, it could be anything attached to the brain, which is everything.
Yeah.
So I was terrified. I was sick. I was overweight. I was also battling high cholesterol, high blood pressure, acid reflux, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, severe acne. What else? I had a list. I mean, it's ridiculous how sick I was. And the ridiculous part for me is a lot of people will say, oh, well, go vegan, it'll cure all your health problems. Well, here I am, like 6 years vegan, or something like that, and what was it, 2009 to 14 of vegan, and I had all these health problems. And I mean, I was sick. And at the time that I ended up in the hospital, I was doing a lot of raw, which is funny because I mean, it was high fat raw. It had salt, a lot of salt, and I had some processed foods, but it was kind of like an unhealthy version of raw till 4.
Okay.
Because honestly, it was convenient for me to eat raw while I was at work. So I would just throw a bunch of raw foods in my lunchbox and go to work and just eat on those all day, and then have a fatty, salty, cooked meal at night, usually with vegan processed food. But from my perspective, I wasn't that unhealthy. Even though I was like 212 pounds and sick as a dog,
Yeah.
I was pretty much in denial. When I ended up in the hospital, it was my wake-up call. It was, oh my gosh, I have to do something now. I mean, this is taking over my life. I'm immobilized on half of my body. I can't walk. I can't type. That is my livelihood. I'm a secretary. What am I going to do? I mean, that's my independence being taken from me. So I had, just by being in the vegan community for a long time, I knew about raw foods, and I had already been doing some of the raw foods as I thought I was doing healthy. But I realized I had to dig a lot deeper in order to heal my diseases. And I didn't go raw to lose my weight, but I was so happy that it happened.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of an unintentional happy side effect. And I feel like I'm still losing weight, just not really quickly. I mean, anymore. I think I've kind of stabilized and I'm just kind of fine-tuning it now, but it's really nice that happened too. But yeah, it was quite the wake-up call. And I think it was a month later that I went fully raw officially. Like my official start date for raw is October 12th of 2014. 10, 12, 14.
Cool.
But that month before, and between the hospital and going raw, I kind of played with it for a few days here and there. I was like, I wonder if I can go fully raw and see if that helps my diseases, see if that helps me get my feeling back and my energy back. And I would play with it for a few days and then fall off, and then I wouldn't feel as good, and so I knew I needed to go fully raw. And so that was it. 10,
Awesome.
12, 14 was fully raw.
Wow. So I guess that kind of brings up another question is, so there's many different variations of a raw vegan diet. And so are you saying that you had already been dabbling with it and it wasn't necessarily promoting the most healing in you, so you had to fine tune it to a certain like high carb, low fat? Some people do high fat, low carb. Do you find that there's a certain variation of the raw vegan diet that really helped you to heal?
Yes. I have been playing with this for more than 2 years now. I saw the most healing and disease reversing keeping it low fat and no salt. High carb. Calories, not so important, but as long as the fat is very low, and even the protein, like if I have too much protein, I don't feel that great.
Okay.
I feel like I don't need that much anymore to be fully functional and disease reversing. But I find that the cleaner I go on the low fat and high carb, the better I feel, and the more I reverse and heal, and my symptoms go away. So, and I did notice when I was still playing with it early on, if I had a lot of stress triggers in my life and then had a lot of lack of sleep and then high fat and high salt, even doing raw vegan, my symptoms would come back.
Okay.
So I would clean my diet back up, get back on track, and the symptoms would go away again. Even under high stress and lack of sleep, even nowadays, it takes a lot to have any kind of a weird fatigue symptom come back. I mean, I feel a lot more immune now. Just keeping the low fat and no salt. So I actually feel the best right now with no overt fats, and I'm doing that right now. I've done it for, I want to say, a couple of months at least. I think since July, I've only had 1 or 2 weeks where I went back and tried to incorporate the 10% fat daily and include like a little avocado or a little nuts or seeds, and I didn't feel as good. So I took it right back out, and I'm feeling great now.
Awesome. Yeah. So right now you're actually in the middle of a all fruit challenge, correct?
Yes.
Yeah?
My friend Victoria challenged me. She said, I want to do all fruits November through December for the two whole months. And I said, okay, let's do it. So
Yeah.
I'm enjoying all fruits, 100% fruits, and no overt fats for me, and no salt. But I was already doing that part.
Mm-hmm.
She's doing fats because she's breastfeeding.
Okay.
But we're doing great on that.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
have you noticed any additional benefits over, the last month or so?
From switching. I was doing fruits and greens before,
Uh-huh.
and then taking out the greens. You think you'll have, I guess, more digestion, better flow through your digestion. I feel a lot cleaner and faster in my digestion with no greens and all fruits.
Wow.
So that was a surprising turn of events. I thought I was going to have a more backed up digestion without including the greens.
Uh-huh.
But that was a happy surprise. And
Awesome.
let's see what else. I require a little less sleep than before. And I have a little more energy. I can go longer, faster for I guess what I usually am thinking about is my work day, because I have a very long work day, high stress, and lots of traveling involved, and so I can make it through that day, and I feel good at the end. I don't feel like completely dead to the world by the end of the day like I used to.
Good. So, let's see. So are you still experiencing, I know you said sometimes you have some, maybe some fatigue come back if you do certain things. Have you gotten off like all medication? Do you consider yourself free of autoimmune issues, or what is your status with that?
I am medication free. I'm not taking any medications. I didn't expect to be able to get off the Hashimoto's hypothyroidism medication. I had been on that for over a decade.
Wow.
And supposedly it makes your thyroid dependent upon the medication, and so it's really hard to get off if you're on it for, I think it's over 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't actually expect to be able to do that, and
Wow.
I just kept getting over-medicated symptoms as I went, and so I had to take it down. I had to get off the medicine, and my levels are pretty good now, and I don't have any symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I really misbehave.
Mm.
If I really overwork myself and overstress and don't sleep and then increase my fat, I might get the chronic fatigue symptom back.
Okay.
But everything is so minor now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say that I'm cured, because I think it takes a really long time for the body to heal itself. I don't think you can ever really say, oh yeah, I cured this in this many days. I don't think that's how the body works.
Right.
It's just, I think it, and for MS in particular, I think it takes 8 to 10 years for the cells in the brain to regenerate. So I think it's going to take a really long time to be able to say, I cured all of my diseases, especially my autoimmune incurable diseases.
Mm-hmm.
But I am medication free for the most part. I mean, I want to say like 98% symptom free. I mean, unless I misbehave.
Yeah.
And as long as I don't misbehave, I'm fine. So lesson is don't misbehave.
Right.
Stay on track. And yeah, I think it was May 9th that I quit my Hashimoto's hypothyroidism medication. And that was the last medication. I had been on medication for depression, anxiety, panic attacks, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, the thyroid. I didn't really have any medication for the pre-diabetes, but I was heading towards that, having to have the insulin resistance, insulin stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
wow.
I have nothing now. I don't even take pain medicine anymore. Like, I used to be a pill popper. Like, if I had a headache or if a cramp, pop a pill, keep going. I don't even do that anymore. I mean, no medicine since May 9th.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's terrific. Did you go through any like healing crisis or anything like that throughout the last couple of years, or?
I mean, aside from MS showing up, just kind of the wake-up call. After I went raw, I didn't really have a healing crisis.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have like a a crazy, like, you know, a limb trying to fall off or something.
Yeah.
I think detox for me was pretty normal. I felt like I had the flu sometimes. I think it was about 6 weeks before I started to really pull out of the detox mode. But for me, detox was not nearly as uncomfortable as being sick and in the hospital and not being able to use my left side. That, to me, detox was nothing compared to that.
Yeah.
That was a cakewalk. That was like, okay, I'll take being sick, feeling like I'm sick for a few weeks, and end up curing my diseases. Deal. Done.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, I mean, I wouldn't call them healing crises. I think it was all pretty normal.
Okay. Well, that's good. Did you like jump into the raw aspect of it, or did you kind of transition into it?
I think my month between being in the hospital and then my official start date was my playing period. I played around with raw, and that was sort of what I call my transition, because I wasn't sure about how to do it, which to me, when people ask me, well, how do you do raw? I'm like, well, just eat the fruit. I mean, pick your fruits and eat them. And to me, it's hard to remember. I was confused too about this, and and I had to kind of play with it too and figure it out. What do I do instead of my normal?
Yeah.
Well, I find a new normal. And so I think I consider that month in between that transition period, but then I have my official start date after that.
Okay.
And I was pretty much doing a lot of raw meals before, just naturally. But I mean, so maybe I had a little bit of a head start, but I was still incredibly confused about dinner, especially.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my last thing that I had to conquer too, was the dinners. You know, I could make it through breakfast and lunch easy enough, but dinner was like, well, what do I want to eat? So
yeah, the conditioning runs deep for dinner.
Yeah.
Because after work, you're just like, I really want something comforting. Like, I worked hard for this meal.
Yep.
I earned this. So yeah, it's kind of switching that mode in your mind of, well, what's my new comfort?
Right.
What am I going to reach for to comfort me now? And so for me, I had to learn what are my savory and soothing dishes while still adhering to fruit and veggies. And right now, just fruits.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. So did you have anything other than, you know, the physical aspect? Did you have any mental or emotional detoxification that you went through to heal?
Oh yes. Oh yes. My brain was really fuzzy from the brain damage. I had memory issues. I felt like I couldn't really even recall who I was. It was kind of like an identity crisis. When that started to come back, and through my raw diet, I believe the raw diet was key to the emotional healing too, because it allowed me to sort of step out of my own way emotionally and no longer dull myself down and sedate myself. I had to actually deal with my emotions as they came up. And so no more packing them away for later and having emotional traumas surface at inconvenient times. I had to actually deal with them. And then the more I dealt with my problems in the moment, the more I allowed myself room for all the old damage and the emotional stuff that I had been holding on to for my entire life was allowed to come up and surface, and I could actually deal with that now. I did so much healing, and I think the diet was really key to allow that, for me to stop stepping in my own way and blocking that healing, that emotional healing. So I did a lot of emotional healing, but I think the diet was so key to that.
Yeah.
I don't think I could have done it without doing the diet, because I would numb down and self-medicate with high fat, with salt, with even alcohol before.
Sure.
So,
wow.
Yeah, it's quite an experience to actually face your problems and not hide.
Yep.
It's very scary and vulnerable.
Yeah.
But it's so healing.
Yeah, right. And I can relate to so much of that, the mental aspect of it, and just the way that the food allows your mind to work so much better, you know, and then you start to just see a lot of those toxic thoughts just kind of melt away, and you start to, you know,
it's almost like an old pattern that you're breaking.
Yeah.
Because it sort of slows it down and you can step back and you can see it clearly. Like, oh my God, I was being so toxic.
Yeah.
Why would I jump to those thoughts all the time? I really need to redirect this and heal myself, heal the way I'm thinking about these things.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of gives you that perspective.
Yep. Yeah, and something that I noticed for me was that, I went from being so critical of myself, and self-love was something that it's like, it should be an innate part of us that, we are, our own uh, biggest supporter. But for most people, we are our biggest critic. And so, if you're not confident and proud of who you are, it's going to be hard for you to, get to where you want to go, and for other people to support you if you're always negative towards yourself. So have you found that the self-love aspect has really grown for you as well?
Oh, yes. People react to the way I've changed.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because detox, I always like to remind people, happens on all levels,
Mm-hmm.
in relationships too, and the way people treat you. And the more you participate in self-love activities like eating very well,
Mm-hmm.
the more I think you get in that pattern of taking care of yourself, and people notice and people start responding to that. And I found it really interesting how a lot of toxic people would sort of pick up on that and sort of drop out of my life
Mm-hmm.
naturally,
Yeah.
just without me even having to really work hard to detox that aspect of my life. It just kind of happened.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that really changed was me and how I respond to the world and myself and how I treat myself, and people pick up on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that would lead me to ask you if you did you detox as far as like cleaning out a lot of your environmental aspects as well throughout this process, like environment issues or social issues or social, relationships or other hobbies that you might take part in. Did any of that change as well?
I think so. I think again, just happened naturally.
Yeah.
I think it sort of was a side effect. Like I stopped prioritizing some superficial things that I was never really a big superficial person, but I suppose my priorities just shifted a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, and I found myself not getting upset about things that I had been upset about before, and having different priorities that motivate me daily. And so of course that changed my hobbies, my interests, the things that I talk about to other people, the way I manage my time, what I deem to be more important above other things. Everything sort of shifted that way. And so I think my environment is still shifting.
Mm-hmm.
I think there were a lot of shifts that happened back then, but I think things are still shifting. It's kind of an ever evolving process.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where that goes.
Awesome. Cool. So I guess what would be like your main take home message, or like your best piece of advice for somebody that might be going through an autoimmune issue or any like self-love issue, or just anything that you have seen improve in your life? How can somebody else do this as well?
Well, definitely, I like to say start with the diet,
Mm.
because the diet can cause so many other things to work out. I think it is only fair to ourselves to do everything in our power, especially when battling incurable diseases
Mm-hmm.
or any kind of a serious disease. I think it is so important that we do everything in our power to change our situation, to take responsibility. It's not our fault that we didn't know any better. It's not our fault sometimes that certain environmental factors could trigger some things in us, but it is our responsibility to take that and take our situation and acknowledge it and do something about it to help ourselves. And we really can't go wrong by trying. I mean, sure, there's no guarantee that we can cure all of this, but it does not hurt to try. I think we owe that to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, I think, people feel maybe they're overwhelmed with all the information out there, and they just decide that, they don't want to try anything. They're just going to keep going with what they know, and they never really branch out and try to find the true answers. So I think that's great advice.
Cool.
Yeah. So where can people find more about you? You have a YouTube channel?
I do. I just started my YouTube channel a month ago.
Okay.
Forgive me, my videos are so not pretty, but there's the information there. I'm starting to get it out.
Oh.
It's called Texas Fruitarian, and I think I've got about 20 videos up. I'm trying to do some more of what I eat in a day videos. Those are, I think those are the most popular ones right now, in addition to the ones about the disease progress and working to cure that. And I am also on Facebook as Texas Fruitarian.
Okay. And
Instagram, I am my name, Rebecca Lynn Rosenberg. I just did Snapchat like 3 days ago. I'm really bad at snapping and chatting, but I am Rebecca MS Raw on Snapchat. And I think those are all my. I'm on Twitter, but who's on Twitter anymore?
Yeah, I haven't gotten too big.
I just cross-post.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, I will link all those resources down below in the description box here for everybody. And guys, definitely go check out her videos. I know she says that they're not pretty, but they're very informational, and I think you'll really enjoy them. So yeah, so go check out her at all those different resources she provided, and you'll really benefit from it. So thank you again, Rebecca, for joining us and sharing all this awesome information.
Cool. Thank you so much, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. All right, guys. Again, check out her stuff, and we will see you in the next video. Always remember to follow your raw intuition.